Welcome to Hashtime with Navguzi Chwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Navguzi Chwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. Meta's goal to help people connect, find communities, and grow businesses has and continues to be realized through various social platforms, and WhatsApp is one of those platforms. For years, we have watched this social platform evolve right up to the point it fell into the hands of Meta. The first time I was introduced to the app, it was on my roommate's phone. She texted a mutual friend in South Africa, and this mutual friend responded on an instant. It was surreal. Me chatting with this person deep down. Do I say deep down? Someone in South Africa and them responding on an instant was surreal. It has been a decade since I started using this app, and never at any point in my life did I imagine that a message shared on the app or via WhatsApp could result into someone being stoned to death. Religious intolerance is not news on the African continent or the world at large, and last month, Sokoto, a northwestern state in Nigeria, was in the news for the same reasons. On 13th May 2022, this year, that's like 2 weeks ago, Deborah Samuels, a student of Shehu Shagari College, was stoned to death in broad daylight and her body subsequently burnt by her fellow students. Her crime? Blasphemy. This is a story I had decided to ignore by all means because I knew how heavy it would be on my heart. But then again, I am a firm believer in the adage, it becomes your concern when your neighbor's house is on fire. In this episode, I spoke to Bura Bari Nwilo, a writer, poet, and an entrepreneur from Nigeria, and in the conversation, he shared how these events unfolded. Bura asks so many questions that would inspire us to evaluate ourselves, and there is no better person to listen to this episode other than you. Disclaimer. Yes, there is a disclaimer. This was my first remotely recorded episode via the internet, so expect some internet glitches, but I can assure you that the conversation flows. Let's get into it. So we are going to be talking about religion, what recently happened in Nigeria, specifically in Sokoto. Am I pronouncing it right?
Sokoto, that's the pronunciation that we've always known. I don't know what it means, so I wouldn't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong.
Yeah, the recent story that happened in Sokoto, where Deborah Samuels, may she rest in peace, was stoned to death. How is this happening in our age? I mean, we are told in the Bible that Mary Magdalene survived being stoned to death, and I don't know, is it we or I? Let me just speak for myself. I somehow feel like we have gone past that kind of barbarianism. But how is this happening in 2022? This is one of the reasons I had decided to look away, but then, you don't just look away.
You can't look away. It's difficult for you to look away from your story.
It is absurd. I'm sure you are in more awareness of the genesis of the story. Would you please tell us how the events that led to Deborah's death unfolded?
So, that I read was published by Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard is one of the daring and the most prominent newspapers in Nigeria. The version Vanguard published that said that Deborah is a 200 level student of Shehu Shagari Level of Education, and Deborah Samuels, and that she's in a WhatsApp group where they discuss departmental issues.
Deborah Samuels, in their WhatsApp class group, was asked about how she managed to score highly in the previous exam, and she attributed her success to Jesus.
Said that she needs to retract the statements, and why would she mention Jesus in the group? So she gave a second opinion that, God forbid, why would they talk about rubbish? And, somebody was defending her stance and all. And then I think it was the voice notes that was sent. So after that, the people in the group took the voice note, forwarded to their friends outside the group, and they kept forwarding the message until it landed in the hands of extremists who wanted to punish her, of course, in collaboration with the people in her classmates. So after that, it went so viral that everybody knew that something was about to happen. So they met with Deborah and smuggled her out of the class and took her to the security post of the university where they felt she would be comfortable. I learned the taxi was already waiting to convey Deborah to somewhere safer, but the mob became too much and they attacked her. And in a statement, in a publication, Vanguard reported that Deborah was quoted saying, "What would they achieve if they killed her? What would they achieve from this that they were doing to her?" So eventually they killed her. They stoned her to death for blasphemy and burnt her. So that's the case. That's it. And while we're unhappy about all of those, you would think the people who did it are ignorant, and since they are young university undergraduates, that they've been taught enough and they don't know better. But the chief imam of the Abuja Central Mosque, who is a professor, actually supported the claim that the blasphemy, what's it called, the repercussion for blasphemy is death. And all. So, but yeah, the good news is that the president of the country has condemned the incident. The Sokoto state governor has, and every other, even the elders who are Christians in the states have also condemned it. And there are condemnations from quarters. But again, the APC, the PDP presidential candidates, who are not a candidate, an aspirant. I'm talking about Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president.
Yeah, I've seen his name. I've been seeing Atiku Abubakar's name on social media.
Yes, his aides or so published a statement on Twitter condemning the incident. And shortly after it was published, it was deleted. And then another statement came up that the tweet was not approved by Atiku Abubakar, that any tweet that is approved by Atiku Abubakar would be signed with AA for his initials. Whoa. So I stopped there. There was no further condemnation of the act. So right now, from what we're able to put together, we understand that this whole drama is not it's not out of the blues. Mm-hmm. This is a nursed act that these young people, extremists, have been building within them, and because they knew that they will be supported, and because they knew that the people in their closet, because sometimes it's not always open, but of course it's open, because if the chief imam of Abuja can say it, can back it up, then it's no longer anything that they're not hiding it. So all we're seeing is a group of people, prominent people, endorsing this act. So Jesus, known as Isa in the Muslim world, and Muhammad, they coexisted as people, because these religions are, all of them are still, linked under they are closely related, and I don't see any reason why anybody would take laws into that level. Yeah. It is most devastating because it's happening in an academic institution. If it had happened in a place where you say these people are not educated, these people have not been prone to, you say, okay, these are ignorant people. For how ignorant can ignorance become?
It is very disappointing, especially where we're having someone running for presidential office choosing to retract a statement that rebuked the heinous crime committed against the person of Deborah Samuels. I don't know. Is Sokoto an Islam state?
Yeah, Sokoto is in the northern part of the country, and most of the people in Sokoto are Islamic, but it is not. I don't think it's a Sharia dominated. It's not a Sharia, core Sharia state. It is the fact is the religion there, but it is this kind of extremism. It has happened in the past. These things have happened in the past. Well, we are evolving, and we don't want to give excuses for what's happened. There's been jungle justice in Nigeria, but when people say jungle justice, sometimes it's it's about maybe somebody who has hurt a lot of people, and the people want to get back at the thief, they catch the person, and then they execute their act, But then they always hide under the fact that, this person is a thief, and this person has inflicted injury, and we caught this person in the act. But how can we degenerate to a point where a WhatsApp message about explaining in a state where religions coexist, you're just explaining yourself about what you feel, and your words are placed on the table, and they're handpicked, and then you end up dying. It's highly disappointing, and thoroughly, it takes us like many years backwards.
I mean, we are so much in the BC. You remember how I had told you that I did not want to look at the story because I knew it would bother me a lot. But then I think when something is happening, you really cannot look away from it because something keeps popping up. So I ended up looking out for what new thing had developed from the unfortunate story. And I saw that when the suspects were arrested, the extremists took to the street to demonstrate demanding for their release. I saw them breaking down a Catholic church in the name of protesting, and that for me would equally be looked at as blasphemy. They are fighting, or they killed someone in the name of protecting their faith, but they're not caring, they're not in any way caring that they are equally blasphemous when it comes to tearing down someone else's, place of worship.
So this is why you should see that it's not an isolated issue. It is not an issue of a couple of ignorant people executing an act. It's a thing. It's a philosophy that has been sold to a lot of people. So even when the people who were part of this were arrested, just a couple of persons were arrested, 2 persons, and they've not been able to identify others and arrest them. And then, despite how tiny this number was, you see a bigger crowd, you see a bigger group of people rising. So it becomes an uprising. So if it's not managed properly right now, it becomes a religious war. And from what is happening currently, the victim of this whole drama has reported cases, their places being ransacked and properties destroyed. And this is how the religious war starts. And it is so disappointing that these things are happening. You kill another human being, and then the government takes action, and then you see these guys, these extremists, becoming even more empowered, coming out to resist the community's efforts to curb these things. So you can see that it is not something that is going to end soon, because it is inherent in their faith. I'm not going to say the teaching, because I can't point to the teachings, but it is inherent in their faith, and because they're also listening to a lot of people who are passing the wrong messages. Because how many people would it kill? Anybody say something, you silence the person? How does that work? Even in a dictatorship, it doesn't work that way. You don't just kill people because what I saw was not. It's not, doesn't even warrant a slap. It doesn't even warrant. What you can do is ignore it for 2 minutes and it's over. 1 minute max. Ignore it for 1 minute and it's over.
It is truly absurd that this is happening, and I am still insistent on the times we're in, because we cannot be having this conversation in 2022. There has to be a level of advancement. The university, is it an Islam university?
As far as I'm told, it's not an Islam university. It's a state university. It's a college of education. If they were talking about blasphemy, why not let us debate it and let it end there? Why would it? Why? Because in debate, that's when you get clarity. Why not enlighten the public? Why not have clarity? Why must you pay with somebody's life? And it was a crowd. It was not one person. She was lying helpless on the ground, and they were filming it, and people were throwing stones. And it felt like a ritual that for everybody who partook in killing her, there's some reward for that person. There's a fulfillment that person gets. That I'm becoming part of this thing. So that's what it is. There has to be a lot of backing, and it's a mental switch. Yeah. What are we learning? I've had cases where I've had to punish my younger brother, for something he did, and I feel within myself that I think I crossed my boundary. Mm-hmm. I think I overdid this for a punishment. Mm-hmm. And I go to him. I'm like 20 years older than he is, but I still go to him and say, "Hey, see, I'm sorry, I did this, but this is what happened." And I try every day to make sure that these things don't repeat itself. Whenever I get angry, I want to become a better person. I walk away. I try not to be, physical with him anymore. I try to mend my ways. I think that's what a rational person would do. Right. Try to be better than you are. Right. Try to cope. Try to talk. Try to have dialogue, have conversation. Try to talk your perspective, your ideas to people. Communicate. Don't always think that the best way to solving something is what? Is killing, stoning, especially in that gruesome form. Mm-hmm. Really? So, what if the government, decides to kill everybody who took part in that death? Because, you are blaspheming against the government by doing stuff, in quotes, by going against the ethics of the law by killing another person. Yeah. So, what if the government decides to, we're killing the hundreds of you or 200s of you people who took part in this? Wouldn't that even call for debate? Why do that? Why I don't know, but I think there's a lot of education that has to take place.
Right. We sure do need so much re-education.
Yeah, people are just terrible.
What could have inspired someone like Atiku not to stand for the truth in this, for fairness, for justice? Is it that he is from Sokoto and that he had to stand with the majority there?
Atiku is from Adamawa, and what he's doing is part of what they call psychophancy or whatever. It's politics. He's just trying to be political with his statements because he wants to please the North. He wants to please the populace. He understands that the populace that votes is the populace that are out there being enraged. So he doesn't want to use the death of. He has weighed his options. The death of one person.
Doesn't that just make Nigeria lose hope?
The people now are more awake than they were 3-4 years ago. Yeah. This is the age of Nigerians who shut down Lekki toll gates. Yeah. This is not the same era as 4 years ago. If we could shut down the Lekki toll gates, we can choose our leaders. We can do better. We can hold them responsible. We can hold them accountable. We can hold them. We can question them and demand answers, and we get answers. So, but that is what Atiku do not know yet. Atiku lives in not just Atiku actually. It's a lot of them. All of them just few people who are contesting, who have been able to bravely come out to condemn the act and ask for justice. some other people are not doing it because, they just don't want to offend. But like we said, like I always say, we are going to hold all of you accountable. For everything you do and for everything you say, we are going to talk it out. We're going to speak it up. So that's it. I'm sure that his rating right now has dropped. For me, I used to believe that he's a businessman, and I don't mind the businessman running Nigeria. Why I don't think that anymore. I would rather not vote than vote for Atiku. I would spend my resources and time desensitizing the people about Atiku than I would post anything about him. So that's how much he has gained more enemies. Or I don't have anything against his personal character though. But I'm saying this is the country right now where we are facing evil every day. There was a case in the East here where two soldiers who were getting married were slaughtered, their heads were cut off. And imagine if you are from the East and you couldn't condemn the act. How do we take you serious?
Right. Where do you see the future of Nigeria going forward? I don't know. Are we going back or moving forward? What does that make you feel?
I think the only reason why Nigeria seem like it's working from a perspective is because of the energy of the young people, the independence energy of the young people. It is not the government. The young people are making films. The young people are making music. The young people are trying to build brands. The young people, the generation, are collaborating with some things that will work. Nigeria can work. Nigeria is a workable plan. But for it to work, there has to be coherent. The people must be coherent. Being coherent means respecting the views of the people that make up Nigeria, coming to understand that Nigeria is not just for one section of the country alone. So Nigeria can work. The future of Nigeria lies in taking serious. There are demands that may be morphed together to produce a collective, but there are demands that may be isolated and treated. There are demands that you should never ignore. And the ignoring of this demand is what is happening. So, for example, if the people of the Southeast say the possibility of Biafra can work, and the system says, we don't want to detach this region from Nigeria, but we can give you a level of independence that can function, that can enable you function, and that functionality would happen for as long as possible until the country has come to a place where we can say we are breaking away. Then have that conversation and then talk to the people and let's see what happens. You can't just keep ignoring these people and see what they are saying is stupid. It's not. People are sensible. People understand what is happening in Nigeria. For example, it is only one port that is super active in Nigeria, and that's the Lagos Apapa port. Why? Whereas there are other parts of this country where there are access to the ocean, and the ports there, they've been abandoned forever. What happened to dredging these ports and making them functional so that everybody who wants to clear goods won't just go to Lagos, right? If you see the Apapa Road, it's terrible. I learned people like Dangote are trying to fix it, but these are places people have been stuck in a place forever. So there are. Our disease as a country is not an incurable one. It is curable, but the leadership must be, they must mean it. They must understand that this is what we need to do. It's like if you want to give cure to a thing, you don't assume that it will fade away with time. You address that issue, you give it a cure that it demands, or something that is close to it, and then watch it grow. We can grow. The potential of Nigeria is not something anybody can debate. For every time we've had someone that seems to have give us hope, you see how we blossom. during the Jonathan era, you can see how the economy actually blossomed. There were good reports, physical reports. We can see how pump price and fuel prices were low. People could make things. You know, the right people who were educated and trained for the right set of skills got the skills, and they helped the system. But these days, sometimes somebody can just come and appoint a 70-year-old man or 75-year-old man as an ambassador to the United States of America. While there are young people who had diverse experience communicating, and these people are having communication. Why would a 70-year-old person be talking to a 40-year-old or 41-year-old American ambassador? You know, what do you know that you can't transfer to a younger person? So why are you scared of the young people? If the young people are the reason why everybody cares about this country, why are you not paying attention to them?
Exactly, and you are really raising relevant questions. And I feel like this is a cancer we have as, I cannot say nation, maybe as a continent. We're struggling with that cancer continent-wise, because hearing someone in West Africa having the same struggles we experience in East Africa, it really shows we are struggling as a continent. How do you take care of yourself in this kind of mess? How do you keep your mental health in check?
Well, the issue of mental health in Nigeria it sounds like an elitic thing, like it is for the elites. Or these days, it seems like what is a conversation that you find around artists who feel like, oh, it is trendy to talk about mental health. But if you're human and you're functioning in a space, then your state of mind must be periodically evaluated to understand that you're not stuck somewhere or you're not carrying over anything. For people like me, I carry over things. But, I mean, if you find yourself in a jungle, you'll learn how to survive. You can eat wild fruits when you shouldn't eat wild fruit, but because you want to survive. So for me, to escape the reality sometimes, I'm always on YouTube trying to watch videos that would inspire me about a continent. Yeah. A few hours ago, I was speaking with a friend in Cameroon. And I told her that I'm going to be in New York for a literary event for like 2-3 days in July. And I told her that since Calabar, is it Cross River State? Yeah, Calabar. It shares boundary with Cameroon, and there's a bridge that has been put in place there. It's a millions of dollars bridge that was commissioned by the federal government, and it's working between Cameroon and Nigeria. That I would like to cross the border and spend a day in Cameroon. And then we started talking, and then of course she's raising the issue of insecurity. There's been a war in Cameroon between the French-speaking side, and the English, the Anglophone part of Cameroon. And these things have been on the ground, suppressed. But I want to, because you see the long beaches in Togo, you want to come down and just enjoy Africa, because Africa that you can explore, it's crazy. So that's the thing. I want to enjoy Cameroon that is next door. Sadly, I can't do that because of insecurity issues. So I try to go to YouTube sometimes. I try to listen to music. I try to see the projects that young people are carrying out across the continent. And sometimes it looks like I'm handicapped. For example, in 2019, I left Port Harcourt, where I was born. I was born and bred. I left Port Harcourt for the second time to the east to study for a master's degree. 2019, 2020, 2021, and yet I can't get my degree because the university has been on things that affect mental health. But like I said, I try to stay positive. All my friends who did not get admission when I gained admission, they graduated from outside the country, and I look like an unserious person because I can't afford to travel to the US or to any part of Europe. So that's it.
Thank you for giving us your time and your perspective about what is happening in Nigeria. And my hope is that we move past the state of affairs and do better as humans, because we really cannot survive in this kind of mess.
I hope we do. I hope we make progress. Thank you too for having me here.
Thank you too for honoring the invite and staying through this conversation even with my internet shenanigans.
That's well. Thank you too. I'm grateful.
Have a good night, Bura.
You too. Have a great night.
When I looked up the meaning of religion on the internet, it was defined as a personal set or institutionalized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices. But how many of us internalize or rather understand religion as such? Many a times I have found people arguing over the differences in personal religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices, but it culminating into someone's death was something I did not ever imagine. I did not foresee this. I don't know how much we have to come to a place of feeling like, hey, I believe in this and you believe in that. How about we respect each other? How about we do not bully each other into feeling like my system of belief is superior to yours? I'm calling upon, Bura and I are calling you, or are inviting you to be with us in this and be more tolerant. We are asking you to evaluate yourself, and we are also still a work in progress. All of us are. We are also evaluating ourselves. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtime with Nabguzi Chwanuka. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtime with Nabguzi Chwanuka in your podcast platform of choice and share it with your loved ones, friends, families, and whoever you find or believe is affected by the millennial world around us. Feel free to also share your insights about what connected with you on social media, and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtime with Nabguzi Chwanuka on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter our handle is at HTNK Podcast. You can also reach us on our email, htnkpodcast@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. You guys are not sending in the emails. Make them make sense though. Don't send me hi on an email. Do not send me hi on an email. I'm not responding. Catch you in the next episode, and until then, keep evaluating your state of mind.